All right, hello everyone. This is lesson 55. I'm going to try something a little bit different. I really don't think that I could say it better than the actual lesson itself. This is going to cover 5 extremely important lessons. I may chime in. I know I may do that. Or maybe not, who knows? We'll see how Spirit moves us. But I really want to be able to tell you what this lesson actually states in the text itself. So again, this is going to cover actually lessons 21 through 25. It'll just kind of expound a little bit about it, but it won't actually go into the lesson itself and the exercises and practice. We've already done that. So you can go back and reference those specific lessons if you want to dive deep into the actual practice itself. But in the meantime, let's just go ahead and read from the text. So lesson 55 starts with, I am determined to see things differently. What I see now are but signs of disease, disaster, and death. This cannot be what God created for his beloved Son. The very fact that I see such things is proof that I do not understand God. Therefore, I also do not understand his Son. What I see tells me that I do not know who I am. I am determined to see the witnesses of the truth in me, rather than those which show me an illusion of myself. So that's lesson 21. Lesson 22, what I see is a form of vengeance. The world I see is hardly the representation of loving thoughts. It is a picture of attack on everything by everyone. It is anything but a reflection of the love of God and the love of his Son. It is my own attack thoughts that give rise to the picture. So again, the thoughts give rise to a projection. My loving thoughts will save me from this perception of the world and give me the peace God intended me to have. This peace is from the beginning. You were created with this peace. It still lives inside of us, but it is covered by layers and layers of illusory thoughts. So what you see is a reflection of what you're thinking, and that is a reflection of unconscious guilt and fear. We have it deep inside of us. At a core fundamental level, one of the most foundational guilt and fearful thoughts that we have is that we had the audacity to believe that we can create outside of God's will, that somehow we can be separate from God's will. Now, our rational mind tells us, what's the big deal? We're here, we create. I don't always know what God's will is. I'm trying to figure it out. But in truth, you cannot create outside of God's will. But the belief that you can leads to an illusory world. And this belief that you can creates a very, very strong sense of guilt, which then is projected out into a world that looks like a world of vengeance, a world of attack thoughts. So the next lesson is 23. I can escape, from this world by giving up attack thoughts. I can escape from this world by giving up attack thoughts. Herein lies salvation, and nowhere else. Without attack thoughts, I could not see a world of attack. As forgiveness allows love to return to my awareness. And what again is forgiveness? Forgiveness is the decision that what you're seeing is not true. That is what forgiveness is, at least within the context of the Course. Forgiveness is the decision that what you are perceiving is not true. So as forgiveness allows love to return to my awareness, I will see a world of peace and safety and joy. Just take that in. It's a constant practice of seeing the world through the eyes of fear and choosing to not believe that it's true. And little by little, you're discarding what is obstructing what has always been there, which is a world of peace, of love, and of joy. And it is this I choose to see. in place of what I look on now. Lesson 24 covered, I do not perceive my own best interest. How could I recognize my own best interest when I do not know who I am? What I think are my best interests would merely bind me closer to the world of illusions. I am willing to follow the guide God has given me to find out what my own best interests are, recognizing that I cannot perceive them by myself. We're going to cover who this guide is in subsequent lessons in much more detail. I can tell you that the guide is the Holy Spirit, but the role of the Holy Spirit might be a little bit different than the traditional role that you may be familiar with if you come from the Christian tradition. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's different, but the interpretation of it is a bit different. In a sense that the Holy Spirit, in some ways it's not, because if you dive into how the Holy Spirit is portrayed in even the New Testament, you'll see that the Holy Spirit is seen as the mediator that shows us all truth. The Holy Spirit, though, can perceive the world the way we do. So it can actually perceive the world the way our ego does, and also perceive the world the way God does. God doesn't know form. The Holy Spirit can perceive the world as a form, and therefore be a really good guide in between helping you realize what is true and not true. We'll get into that a lot more in detail in future lessons, so stay tuned. The last review lesson in lesson 55 is number 25. I do not know what anything is for. To me, the purpose of everything is to prove that my illusions about myself are real. That's my function. The purpose of everything that I do is to prove to myself that my illusions about myself are real. Just think about how you go through day trying to prove yourself right, that the way you see things, the way you feel about things, the way you see yourself is true. That's what we believe the purpose of everything is. It is for this purpose that I attempt to use everyone and everything. So I need validation, an external validation of this belief that I already have about myself. That is what we do. We try to find something that confirms the way we see ourselves at all times. It is for this that I believe the world is for. Therefore, I do not recognize its real purpose. The purpose I have given the world has led to a frightening picture of it. Let me open my mind to the world's real purpose by withdrawing the one I have given it and learning the truth about it. So that is lesson 55. It is a choice. I will keep going back to that because you are fully responsible for the experience that you're having at every moment. You are fully responsible. You are not a victim of the world that you see or how you see it. It is your choice. It does take a little willingness to see things differently in order to open up to true vision. So it is still your choice to choose to see things differently. And then you ask for help. Because as the Course says, when it comes to the final step, let's call it the step of atonement or the step of awakening, when it comes to the final step, God takes it. It is not ours to take. God will take the final step. But until then, we've spent lifetimes creating illusions and building on them and building on them and building on them. So the work is to strip that away little by little by forgiving what it is that you are seeing and how you're seeing it, by choosing to not believe that it is true and open up to true vision. Holy Spirit inspire my perceptions. Simple as that. Remind yourself of that. Holy Spirit, inspire my perceptions, and you will know. You won't perceive, you will know. In stillness, you will know. We'll see you tomorrow for lesson 56. Thank you.